What is happening, guys, and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. We are back with a part 3. Also, a part 3 of dark treatments used in history. You guys are sickos. We can't sleep making these videos, but we do it for you. I'm your host, Taylor McWaters. You already know why you're here. Here are 10 more dark treatments used in history. 10 more. Now we have 30. Buckle up. Kicking off the list at number 10, flowers. Back in the Middle Ages, carrying flowers around town didn't mean that you had a hot date. It was their version of wearing a mask during the plague. A little more stylish than our masks that we have today, the N95. It's a bit more pretty than that. Today we use flowers for ceremonies. They're beautiful, they're symbolic, but back then we would carry flowers with us to keep us safe. And also because there was zero sanitation and everything smelled like Guys would have flowers tucked into their lapels, so if people were dumping buckets of feces on the street, which is what they did when they were full, ew, gross, you would just smell your flower and then quickly scurry off. The children's song, Ring Around the Rosie, refers to the rash caused by that plague, so you would have to carry a pocket full of posies. Horrible odors were thought to carry disease, which makes my next point sound even funnier. Number 9, jar of farts. Not the Christina Perry song, that's Jar of Hearts. Jar of Farts, during the time of the Black Death, back in the 1600s, health experts believed that bodily gas could fight exposure from the plague. I'm really glad we don't do this during our pandemic now. I feel like this method is safely behind us, so we can talk a little smack about it. Many kept goats inside their homes because they wanted it to smell awful inside. If you didn't have a goat to stink up the place, you would have to go and get jars of farts. I don't know why I'm doing that. Close it. Whenever the pestilence would appear in town, all you had to do was take the lid off and take a sniff. Kind of like a Yankee candle when you open it and you're like, fresh laundry. Also, I have so many questions. Who's filling these jars? How fast do you have to close the lid after you're done? Are you like, all right, we're good. That's enough for today. Put that back for tomorrow. It's gonna go foul. It's gonna get rotten. So gross. Number 8, blood and bones. These are so horrible. Bone marrow soup is pretty common today. Animals drink it, they get stronger, their hair is shinier, all that jazz. But ancient Romans did it in their own horrible way for reasons. See, they used to ingest blood from fallen soldiers in order to prevent seizures. Yeah, if you suffered from epilepsy, you had to double down as a vampire back in the day. 12th century doctors used ground up bones, something they called mummy powder, which I gotta say, lazy name. They could have put more time into that name. But they would do this because they believed the spirit would pass through into the person ingesting it. Like, that's crazy. First thing my spirit would say is like, hey man, why did you eat my bones? Can you not do that anymore? Stop grave robbing us. Thanks. 17th century England, if you were sick, you would go to these gatherings in hopes of getting fresh blood from the deceased. People go to baseball games with mitts. They're like, oh, I hope I catch a ball. Some guy's like, oh, I hope I catch a spleen. Number 7, St. Fiacres Rock. For this next one, we're going all the way back to the 7th century to an Irish monk named St. Fiacre who had the misfortune of dealing with hemorrhoids. That was until one day he sat on a hard rock and just like that, boom, no more disease. Was it just timing perhaps, or was this indeed a magical rock? Well, medieval doctors voted the latter. A good amount of them, an unhealthy amount rather, would send patients to this rock as a cure. Imagine going to your doctor for a headache and he's like, yeah, just go sit over there for a little bit. Yeah, just go think about what you've done for a hot minute. Maybe it'll help. This sounds insane, but in reality, you wanted to hear this because other treatments for the disease included shoving a red hot iron pipe right where the sun does not shine. You know where the sun does shine though? St. Fiacres Rock. Go have a sit, enjoy. Number 6, French tonic wine. Fortifies and refreshes the body and brain. Sounds perfect. What's the secret? Well, back in 1863, a French chemist by the name of Angelo Mariani patented this healing tonic, which was red wine and cocoa leaves. Gross. Some would say the perfect combo. Now, he didn't get actual medical support like at all, but back then he did have tons of celebrity appeal. Sarah Bernhardt, she's like, oh, my health and vitality I owe to Vin Mariani. When at times unable to proceed, a few drops give me a new life. They call Vin Mariani the king of all tonic wines. Another ad shows Pope Leo, his holiness. He gave Mariani a gold medal in recognition of this jazzy juice. Imagine the Pope being like, here's a gold medal. That's how good your Dyson vacuum is. Enjoy. They don't do that. It's not a thing. Stop. Stop lying. Hashtag fake news. Number 5, larval therapy. If you're watching this video right now, maybe you're snacking out, eating some noodles, I'll give you a minute. Stop eating. The medical use of maggots, also referred to as biosurgery, biotherapy, or the worst thing I've ever heard, was around in the early days, and even today we still do this, I hate to admit, yeah. Physicians have used maggots to clean those wounds instead of, polysporin. There is a method behind the madness though, and it does check out. It's just really disgusting. Since maggots only feed on dead flesh, doctors figured there's no need to worry about them eating healthy tissue, so they just eat all the bad stuff. Imagine you scrape your knee falling off your bike and your doctor gives you a bag of maggots. If you're feeling sick like I am talking about this right now, just remember that in 2019 in the archives of dermatology, it showed maggots being placed on surgical incisions, and that cleared more dead tissue than scalpels or scissors, so it works. What is your doctor, Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas? I'm done with this point. I feel sick, you feel sick. Let's move on. Next. Number 4, ants. Ants, okay. Some of the greatest little builders of all time. Turns out they make for great healers as well. Nearly 12,000 years ago, ants were used to keep those wounds closed. What they would do is grab these ants called army ants or majors, and they would grab their ant heads right at the back, and then as a result, that ant will open its mandibles really wide. And then you would attach the ant's face to your open wound, medical wound, and then it would squeeze shut like a stapler. Only the horrible part of this process is that in order for the ant to continue to hang on and then, hang on as a stitch would, its head needed to be removed from its body. A single wound can have numerous ant heads, like buttons on a sweater. Here's a nice image to go in your head. Ant heads, but make it cozy this winter. That's so funny. It's like, ow. And then you just have an ant head on your neck. You're like, yeah, I fell. Number 3, vomiting. Mental illness, you say? Just throw up for a bit and just see how you feel. Back in the day, ancient Greek physician Claudius Galen came to the conclusion that many or most illnesses came from substances in your body. Like if you're dizzy and you feel kind of sick, hey, odds are you're probably drunk, you had too much wine. It checks out in some cases. But in the 1600s, Thomas Willis, an English physician, took this idea and then ran really far with it. He believed this was the case for mental disorders as well. So in order to cure a mental illness, he would suggest purging. Clinical depression, or humors as Willis would call it, was a quick fix. All you had to do was throw up. In part 1, we mentioned drilling holes in the skull in order to release evil spirits that are causing a person to act differently, but this sounds almost just as crazy. That's not a solution. Leave that in the past. Number 2, mercury. Any liquid inside your phone you just shouldn't rub on your face. That's obviously. Mercury is a chemical element. It's referred to as quicksilver, but no, it will not give you super speed. Back in the day, ancient Greeks and Persians used to use mercury as an ointment. Going all the way back to the Renaissance, mercury was used for treating STDs. Now, sometimes it would work. That's the thing that makes it confusing in history. The metallic properties would kill the infection, sure, but at the same time, you'll get extremely ill from mercury poisoning. Alchemists from the 2nd century thought that mercury made your life extended, like you would just become immortal almost, with some accounts claiming that the user gets the ability to walk on water. That's a pretty insane side effect, only of course it didn't work. Weird. You didn't turn into Jesus after drinking mercury, you didn't live longer, you just poisoned yourself. And finally, number 1, teeth whitener. Nowadays, you can whiten your smile overnight, but back in the day, Romans would use urine to do the trick. Also, it wasn't their own urine. I feel like that matters. It makes it millions times worse. King Henry VIII's surgeon believed that all battle wounds should be washed with urine. Also, it's not like a jellyfish where it stings your foot and you go behind a bush and you're like, and then you return to normal. No, we're talking like large amounts of the not so mellow yellow. Later on in history, this number 1 treatment was used to treat sores caused by the bubonic plague. Now we see all these survival shows today where they talk about drinking your own pee in order to survive. Like what's that guy, Coyote, what's his name, Dave Grohl? No, not Dave Grohl. What is it? Bear Grylls? Yeah, Bear Grylls is like, right, drink your own urine behind this and you'll be good. It's like, no, don't ever do this. Like if you're in the wild or whatever, never do this. This is false information. This will dehydrate you and also taste pretty bad. George Thomas, London physician back in 1666, suggested using urine for burns, bites, and sore throats. I would much rather have a sore throat than to drink urine. Also back then, if you had sciatica, well, urine for a treat. It would be a really gross liquid diet. You don't want to do anything. I'd rather have sciatica. I'd be sore all the time. Guys, those were 10 more dark treatments used in history. And man, I'm pretty glad we don't have jars full of farts anymore. What a joke. If a part 4 is something you wish to see, you sickos, let us know down below because it's only going to get more insane. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Keep being you, and we'll see you next time on Most Amazing Top 10. Peace. Dark treatments. Some of these are so gross. These are so gross. Not the Christina Perri, what is it, Christina Perri song? Collecting your jar of hearts. Yeah, that's it. But ancients, why'd I write but 3 times? I trusted myself though. I was like, but. I go to basketball games. I go to basketball dream. Oh man, it's gonna be stupid. There it is, that's the one. I felt good. When at times unable to proceed, a few drops. I'm gonna do this, I got this. When at times unable to proceed, a few drops. I'm not doing it, it's gonna take time.